thing is falling apart, just like the Raptors.
They're not falling apart just yet tonight.
There we go.
We've already scored more points already than in the first quarter of the other night.
I think we're good.
Principal audience isn't basketball fans, I'm sure.
There might be some crossover. Okay, hey everybody, and I think we're probably live now. So I'm going to start the intro, and it's Wednesday night here on Live Long It Podcast, and we're covering the original series along with the Raptors game, which is also a very big deal. So here we're covering with our esteemed panel. First, Jody Simpson. How are you doing, Jody?
I am doing.
Next, Adam Woodward. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm great, thank you. Hello.
Great. Hello. And my brother Jeff and my dad Ted. How are you guys doing?
Photon torpedoes, man. Photon torpedoes.
They're loaded and locked on your target, Captain.
Yes. You know, hey, it's Gorn versus Kirk. This is the battle of the century. This is what it's all about. This is at Vasquez Rocks or wherever, the Metrons put it all together. The Metrons interfered.
Somehow William Shatner's hair stays perfect throughout the whole episode.
It's amazing.
It is quite the coif he's got going.
Well, you got to remember, in the 23rd century, they got much better hair products, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sulu's got that one strand of hair perfectly, too. Like the hair is just so in every shot. It's the hairstylist worked overtime on this episode.
Yes, it was Shatner was out by himself on location with some guy in a big green rubber suit for a number of days, and they made it work. Okay, and this is maybe one of the most famous Star Trek episodes, original series episodes. I think it was featured in the movie Coneheads. I believe that it's sort of on at the beginning of the movie Coneheads, and that's where
I can tell you the second Bill and Ted movie was shot at Vasquez Rocks as well.
That's right, and they show this episode in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, like briefly, just sort of like a connection.
They do, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I forgot about that part.
Like especially like in the early '90s, there was definitely like all this like romanticism around original series and some of the more classic episodes, and this one being maybe one of the most prominent. Dad, you had suggested this episode. I have to imagine you're a fan of it.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I went to Disney with you guys at Universal Studios. Remember when we went and we saw the Back to the Future, not Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, and all the bombs are blowing up, all on the. You kind of sit there and watch the bombs blow up. It's like
like the live action experiences that they do at Universal Studios to get you into it. Yeah. A lot going on. Like I guess like the title of the episode is Arena because it's this fight between Gorn and the Gorn, who I guess who we never really learn, and Kirk, because they're the captains of these two ships that are sort of in this conflict. But another big part of this episode is just the beginning and the whole Cestus 3 incident and the massacre that really kicks this story off. And Kirk and his crew have arrived at Cestus 3, which is a colony they've established in a remote part of the galaxy, like on the edge of Federation space. Like this is a pretty far out deep space colony for them. And they get a call from the Commodore, who is apparently famous for his hospitality. That that's what lures them to the station. And once they beam down, they realize, no, everyone's dead. The place has been destroyed, and we gotta find out what the hell happened here. So it's a great like opening. It really gets you going. Adam, what's your thoughts on the opening, but just on the episode as well in general?
The episode, okay. So I had forgotten all about the Cestus 3 opening, and again, that was really compelling. Got me into the episode right away. Like I said, I remembered the Gorn, the fighting scenes on wherever that was, Vasquez Valley, very well. But the opening was great. Like honestly, first of all, they're joking. Oh, the Commodore, he sets a good table. I can't wait to get down there and get a real meal. It's going to be fantastic. And then I was like looking forward to that and to find out who this that guy, that Commodore was coming down. I was disappointed. As Cestus 3 is destroyed. Okay, now what? And then right into the action again. They're under attack. The red shirts get killed. it was good.
To be fair, it's a red shirt, a gold shirt, and a blue shirt, but they're all tactical people. Like, because
Right.
the Gorn is pretending to be this Commodore in this phone call,
Yeah.
and then he's like, bring down your best tactical people. I got some problems I need to get them to chew on, but it's all a ruse. The Gorn have lured them here to, I guess, probably to capture and interrogate those people.
Yeah, you know, the one, again, you know how I like inconsistencies, but it was, you know, as they're beaming down, they beamed down to a destroyed city, and nobody figured that out before they were heading down. But
yeah, they didn't scan down. There was no. It is strange. Jody, we haven't gone to you yet. Your thoughts on Arena and this, you know, the whole setup of the episode and how it plays out.
This is one of the only episodes of Star Trek that I can remember where it actually starts good. A lot of episodes are really dry to begin, and then eventually they get into it. It's like a build-up. This episode just starts, and it starts well. Like it actually reminds me of, like, you know, season 3 and season 4 of Next Gen, because like they finally figured out that you have to kind of start an episode. You can't just kind of like wheeze into it. Overall, I love the episode. This is still one of my favorite ones. It's an iconic episode, as you mentioned, Dave. It's everything about it. The one thing I did learn on the rewatch is that the voice of the Gorn is actually the guy who played Lurch in the Addams Family TV show.
I didn't know that. I did. We hadn't. Yeah,
the original though. Yeah,
the original Lurch. Dad, did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I remember.
I might have took a fun fact from Jeff away, but
he looks like
I had to take that one. I was excited to find that out.
Yeah,
he'll deal with it.
Yeah,
you're a fan of the Addams Family, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Fun fact: Jeff will carry on. Don't worry about this.
I have no doubt in my mind.
Jeff, we'll go to you next. Jeff, what did you think of the green rubber suit that the Gorn wears, and the whole look of the Gorn?
I remember this episode. I gotta remember here. One sec.
Adam's like,
oh, okay,
giving the evil eye to whoever is making all that noise in his house.
The one thing that's noticeable is his eyes. His eyes are like diamonds.
Yeah, it's like he's basically wearing a big mascot suit he's wearing at the mall because he's like, you know, he's there for Raptor Day, maybe. There too.
Tony Brennan used to use that line on when he tried to pick up the girls at the golf club. He said, "Your father must be a jeweler because you got diamonds in your eyes."
Yes. Yes, the Gorn, he's the child of the jewelers. Yes, with his
how smooth.
Eyes. I did notice that. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a kind of a ridiculous episode. I mean, but it's iconic, but it's ridiculous, but it's also kind of like, I don't know. It's Shatner getting to be the star of the show. I'm sure he loved that. And the Gorn rubber suit, I have to imagine that was hot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're running around like Vasquez Rocks, which is already like a pretty hot area. Imagine being in that silicone or whatever the hell it was made out of rubber suit. That would have been brutal.
Oh, Kirk throws a rock at him and it just hits him and falls down.
Yeah, he doesn't even move him.
Okay, but it hit the Gorn's strength to me is wildly inconsistent because at the very beginning they're having this fight, right? And they eventually, like, they try to go at each other with sticks initially, and they give up on the stick fight, and then they grapple like two wrestlers, right? But Kirk's keeping up with him. But a moment later, Kirk's throwing rocks at him. Kirk is like throws boulders at him later, and I'm like, okay, so if he's and the Gorn picks up an even bigger rock and throws it at Kirk's head. So I'm like, if he's that strong, how was Kirk keeping up with the grappling?
He wasn't. That's why it's a ridiculous episode.
Right.
Yeah, nothing really makes sense. It's just like, let's have fun with this.
He was an underdog.
I think you're missing the big point here, though. This is a season 1 episode, which is already like it's got marks against it, and it's like this is actually good. I enjoy this. This is entertaining. Like that's what this is. This is entertainment.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like, just let's see Kirk go to battle with this big green rubber monster. I mean, and in the 60s, I'm sure it was like just the special effects alone were probably like, oh, this is so cool.
Well, the special effects are weak in this episode.
Not for the 60s. I mean,
I don't know. That red filter thing where they kill the first guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal.
The Metrons.
The Metrons.
Metrons, yeah.
The guy in the dress at the end with the silver makeup, and he's like, "Hello, Captain Kirk." He's a fun guy. But Adam, are you familiar with this new theory in Star Trek canon that the original series has to be taken with a grain of salt because perhaps Captain Kirk is an unreliable narrator, and that we can't necessarily accept these episodes as sort of they happened exactly.
He's
as
an unreliable father, I can tell you that.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, it's okay. Listen, just like last week, what did we watch last week? I remember being iconic as well.
Last week we watched "For the World Is Hollow" and "I've Touched the Sky."
No, maybe it was week before. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. You got these iconic
Mirror was the week.
Mirror. There it is. The ones
amazing.
that have set the tone for other Star Trek. I mean, or other popular culture, like you just mentioning Coneheads or Bill and Ted or whatever it might be. This episode to me was the prelude to Darmok, like in Next Gen. This was, they just took this episode and made it better in Next Gen. And even thinking about Mythbusters when they tried to make the canon to see whether they could blow up.
I was going to bring up Mythbusters. Yeah, because I'm familiar with that episode too, where they tested this basically everything we see here, the canon in particular.
Yeah. But whether it's canon again, I don't really care. I think this is, how we set the tone for what happened later in Star Trek. So how can you be critical against it, really, whether it's a costume that was obviously cheaply done, but still great. It was a great episode. I loved it. I think, and then you go, what it created in the future. It's just like Mirror, Mirror. What did it create in the future? And here we are 60 years later now talking about it. So,
Well, and how many episodes of Star Trek has had Vasquez rocks in it? Like, it's
more than I can count.
Even like in the second season, they used it for an episode that we reviewed recently.
They just used it in Star Trek Picard too. Like it was.
Yeah, they used it in Picard.
That's where Raffi lives.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of the mirror universe, Jody.
Yes.
Did you, when they later brought the Gorn back, because we've only seen the Gorn on screen twice, once in this, and the other time they've been mentioned other times, but they've only been shown on screen again in Star Trek Enterprise in the mirror, the two-parter, where Bakula fights the Gorn on the ship. Yes. Was that an improvement on the rubber suit, or do you think the rubber suit is superior to that CGI Gorn we got in that episode?
I don't like when they replace characters with full CGI. That always bothers me. But I think they got the essence of it. I think they were trying to make it cheesy. Like, I think that, like, Enterprise, a lot of people take it way too seriously. And if you actually watch it, like, with a kind of, it's almost like a mini parody, you actually kind of get a little bit more out of it, I find. So I don't know if they meant to do that, but that's
I don't know. The scene where Kirk launches the boulder off of the cliff, and then like it's like a comedy, and like the Gord's like doing something.
It's like a Wile E. Coyote thing, eh?
Yeah, and the Gord just
like next he's gonna bring out his Acme.
Okay, can I ask you guys a question though? Go back to when you saw this as a kid. Like this was one of those episodes I remember being frightened by the Gorn and that whole and just. I do. I was only 7 or 8 when I first saw it, I think, and it stood with me for years. And I did, like I said, I forgot the front. I forgot the front end of it, but I definitely remembered being, worried for Captain Kirk that something's going to happen to him here. And
yeah, I didn't really have the privilege of that because I started the original series with the movies essentially, and then at that point I went back and rewatched it. So I was already at an age where I don't think I would have been frightened of it anyway, but I can see how kids, like, especially like if you're like, 7 or 8 years old watching this episode, it could be frightening.
And remember, I mean, that's the way TV was.
It's a creepy suit.
Yeah. And like, to your point, Adam, it's kind of like Jason or Mike Myers before Jason and Mike Myers, the big, slow, kind of dumb, opposable force, that just keeps coming, never stops. That's kind of like they did that, 10 to 15 years before, or even Jason, or whatever, those characters.
Yeah, Mike Myers energetic.
I mean, that was 78 when that came out, and that was again a scary guy.
Right. But like when I was a kid, like Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker, very scary, right? Because you put him in the body bag, right? And this
Scariest
really
thing about
played,
Hulk Hogan was that movie you made.
yeah. Well, which one, Mr. Nanny?
No, the other one.
Suburban Commando.
When this was on, we were like 10 years old. Me and I don't know, Adam, how old were you?
Well, I wasn't born when this was on, but
Oh, okay.
I watched it when I was 8.
So so I was 10 years old, so I could get scared by this because it was real. It's real.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could.
For sure. I'm not taking away from it. I just think like watching it tonight, especially where Kirk is trapped under this rock, because after he throws the rock, he like falls, hurts his ankle or whatever. He's kind of trapped, and he's at the Gorn has him, but it plays really like a professional wrestling, because he's like, and he's going for the
Gorn's
stab
really
like to finish him
slow.
off.
Really slow.
Real like incredibly slow.
But
Like,
the difference is that when I watched this when I was 10, I didn't have Enterprise and all those other versions of Star Trek to compare to. This was it. This was all we had.
This is what it is, right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
And the other thing about this, it was kind of un-Kirk-like to give him, to not finish him off and kill him.
Well, and even if you look at the beginning of the show, like when they're getting attacked by the vessel that they don't know, and Sulu's up in the ship, and Kirk is down there with the communicator, and he's like fire all phasers, and it's like you don't even know what the fuck's going on yet. You're already firing phasers, and then it's like 2 seconds later he's like, no,
true.
arm the torpedoes.
I was doing the same thing. My God, he's commanding from the ground, really?
Yeah, he's like Sulu, you're in charge, but shut the fuck up and listen to me. It's like, he's like, fire the phasers, Sulu, and Sulu's just kind of like, I would have loved it if there was like an eye roll or something going on, like, oh, fucking Kirk,
Sorry, we can't hear you, Captain. We're going to be dealing with this alone. Thank you.
Yeah, is communicator's going out. Yeah,
I'm the captain now. Oh my.
Dave, I have a question about uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Kirk's uniform appear yellow in the outdoors when I thought it was the lights that turned his uniform from green to yellow?
Good question. It's just the sun also has that same effect. It's the material of that that they used for those shirts. It just looks.
I've missed something. Are you telling me that the uniforms are supposed to be green?
They are. In real life, they are green.
Really?
Yeah. That's why the dress uniform and his wraparound is green, because it was all supposed to be green. If you look even at the bridge, it's green, blue, and red lights everywhere. Like that was supposed to be the color scheme, but because it looked gold even under the sun, it depends if there's you saw in like shore leave. If they were in like the shadows a little bit, you could see it was green or a couple times.
Well, it had a little bit more of a tint of green. Yeah,
it's a very like drab green. It's not a bright green.
But I learned a long time ago to never argue with you when it comes to uniforms, because you obviously are the master at that.
Well, I know about the uniforms. Yes,
you do. You're very knowledgeable in all the uniforms in the Star Trek universe.
Right, even the Gorn uniforms, which I thought were
even the Gorn.
Yes, with his. We only see him in one his thing, but I wanted to get to the. Okay, Dad, what was the moral of this story?
The moral, I guess. I don't know if there's a moral, I guess, but it was kind of two cultures fighting. So they put the two captains together, and they fought to the death with these Metrons kind of looking it over. But good over evil, I guess, is the way you want to look at it. And it's kind of what it came down to.
Does anyone else want to respond?
I think it's like, just because your foe is bigger, stronger than you, doesn't mean you can't find a way to overcome insurmountable odds if you have ingenuity and smarts, and you use your team to your advantage, and those are the type of things. I think it's also like a big metaphor for, like, I feel like the Gorn kind of represents like Russia, like the big Russian bear kind of thing, and I think they're kind of going for that kind of a metaphor. That's what I get anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one, Jeff. I think there was obviously, the time that this was made, clearly you could call up those two things and bring them together. It wouldn't be that hard to figure it out. But I think the real moral of the story is that when Kirk's not on the ship, it's more effective. I think that's really what it is. Sulu should have always been in charge.
Okay, and so far, like I think you've made some points, but I don't. It's not the one I got from it. So, Adam, any thoughts?
I thought, this sets up the Star Trek sort of moral code. The Federation doesn't kill.
Well, yeah, correct. And just on the point that you're saying, though, is this the first time that they mentioned the Federation?
No.
Are you
I
sure?
don't think so. Well,
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but this is late in season 1.
Sorry, you just mentioned it, Adam. It came in my head, and I'm just one of those guys. Anyway, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I just think this, like I was saying about the moral code and what Starfleet and what the Federation's about is inclusion and we talk, we dialogue, and we'll get to the bottom of this and we'll be friends. And I think that started it off really well. And that's what I was saying. It's like on Kirk, like to actually preserve their life, but not on Star Trek like.
Well, I think you actually made a really good point earlier, Adam, where you're talking about how this is kind of like an influence to like later episodes, like the Darmok episode, where you can't always assume that you don't know what you know what the enemy is thinking, and communication really is key. Really is what it comes down to. Communication should always come first, and once he started understanding what was going on, it was a little bit different, I guess, but still, yeah,
right. Like to me, it was that Kirk kind of didn't react to this in the proper way. I think that he got obviously people were massacred, they were tricked into coming, and he says to Spock, "We're the only police out here. And a crime's been committed, and we have to go out." Spock's objecting. He's like, "We don't know why they attacked. We don't know things. We don't have enough information to really understand what happened here." And if you recall, there was that guy in the sickbay, the one guy that they're able to save. He's like, who's his performance, I gotta say, woo. He's like, "Why did they do it? Why did they do it?" He's just I told them, they didn't care. It's, why, and so Kirk's really ramped up after that. And I think that they're right to be horrified and mystified by the whole thing and want to sort of find out what happened because they've been attacked. But what that anger and that need for revenge catches the eyes of the Metrons, who are way more powerful, and they go, and I think if Kirk had killed that Gorn, they would have just killed both ships. I think that's kind of what the Metrons were sort of intending.
Yeah, the Metrons are almost kind of like the Q entities in Next Gen, to a degree. They want to see how things play out.
They're very watchers. Powerful, and they consider themselves to be more civilized. I do question that if they're kind of threatening to kill people because they're not as civilized, then that by definition is not civilized. But that don't shoot and ask questions later. Ask questions and then shoot if you need to. I think is really the story here. Because when he spares the Gorn,
just fire all phasers all the time.
You're not supposed to just fire phasers all the time.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to it's that's you're supposed to be better than that. Is I think what I was getting from this.
It's a very good point.
Any do you guys agree?
I agree with that. Yeah,
I do agree with that. One thing that coming back to the episode itself, though, is how the Gorn could understand what Kirk was saying. I never saw that the other way. Kirk's narrating. I think I'm going to lose. I'm not in good shape. He's stronger and better than me. But meanwhile, the Gorn's hearing all this. But
yeah,
and it hadn't really occurred to me before you had said it at the top of the episode that this is sort of like that Darmok, which is an episode from the Next Generation, where Picard and this alien have to learn to talk to each other because they just can't communicate. And this is sort of that's sort of the spiritual successor of this episode, that understanding and sort of open yourself to other ways of thinking, putting yourself in the enemy's shoes, or someone you're not able to at least communicate with, makes a big difference. Because I think this whole exercise, it's not even a fight. It's a lesson by the Metrons to both species that they both acted sort of foolishly.
Right. And there was no pausing to get into the fight. They basically said, whoever lasts or whoever kills the other guy, wins. right?
Yeah.
So there was no pause at the beginning. They just got right into it. They started with the wrestling, like you said. The sticks that were breaking, but there was no pause. And even Picard, like coming back to Darmok, which was one of my favorite episodes of Next Gen, by the way. It was, I'm not going to fight you. I'm putting down the knife, and that's the way it is. Let's figure this out.
Right. Yeah, like let's be better than that. It's not just about. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Kirk is a very diplomatic character to begin with, though. Like, a lot of people say this, and I don't know where they're getting it from because he's not all that diplomatic. He's kind of action first and then consequence.
Right.
He doesn't bother to think about the consequences when he just starts. He just starts, right? Like we've seen that on many of the episodes we've even reviewed.
Yeah, why he needs Spock.
Well, I think, and I think in Next Gen, I think the dynamics flipped. I think Riker's
the one that runs in
more. Yeah. He's more, and you also have Worf in there too, right? So they're kind of playing that like let's shoot first and ask questions later, and then you got like Picard, Data, and the others who are more like intellectual, I guess, or more like no, let's consider that there's other thoughts or other possibilities, and that's there's more than one way to solve a problem too.
It's the universal constant of just because you don't understand the situation doesn't mean you do understand the situation. Like you have to kind of dig a little deeper if you're not getting it, so maybe that's what he should have did.
Did anyone else get feelings of because we watched Errand of Mercy many weeks ago, which was the one where the Klingons had taken over that planet on Organia, if you recall.
I don't know if I was on that one.
I don't know if you were on that one, but that's one where they, it's like the Federation and the Klingons are about to go to war, and then they go to Organia and they think that they're that planet of like sort of like shepherds and farmer people, like peaceful, but they ended up being a very advanced species, and they end up. Oh,
I know this episode. Yeah, okay.
With Core, it's the original episode with Core. We did it a few weeks ago. I don't know if who was there.
I wasn't on it, but I know what episode you're talking about.
Yeah, and so again, like you have this advanced species getting involved again to interfere in war. It's like another thing they've done. They're both in the first season of this show.
Those are Raptors games, guys.
It's they're down by 9.
Uh-oh.
What quarter are you in?
Second quarter.
I got plenty of time.
Oh yeah.
That's a time. Basketball is back and forth. Just we get a basketball, you get a
basketball. Only counts when you get to the fourth.
Yeah. Like last 2 minutes of the fourth.
Who played the Klingon in that episode again? What was it? John Colicos? Was that the one?
John Colicos. Yeah.
He actually, I was watching Battlestar Galactica, the original 1978 version, and he was Baltar.
Oh yeah.
Was he the original? Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Yeah, he's the original Baltar before, not the British version we would get later, but in the reboot. Yeah, okay. I never put that together that he was on part of both shows, and then of course he reprised the role of Core, I think 3 or 4 times on Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
Which one am I supposed to hate? Is it this one or Babylon 5?
Babylon 5.
Okay.
You would like Battlestar. The rebooted Battlestar. I bet.
Oh, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Why did we just get a thing that says ban TikTok?
Hey, there's a campaign going, I guess. I don't know. I don't use TikTok, so I don't have the right to ban it though. So
unfortunately, it is out of our power.
Out of my or anybody else's here's power, but you can.
I don't know who Lars Janice is, but we appreciate your comment, even though we don't understand it.
Okay, so we haven't talked about this, but the way that Kirk defeats the Gorn, the cannon that he makes out of bamboo and these minerals he finds around, the potassium.
Yeah,
fantastic.
So good, so amazing, like so ridiculous. Like
it is ridiculous.
It brings me back to this whole unreliable narrator theory of Kirk. Like he's like, yeah, I made a cannon out of bamboo. Well, you can't make a cannon out of bamboo.
Where the fuck are you, on fucking Gilligan's Island? Like,
maybe a pipe. Maybe if you found a metal pipe that size, but
don't tell Kirk what he can't do.
That's true.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
Never tell him the odds.
It's an amazing.
That's for something else, I think.
They're watching on the Enterprise bridge. Spock is watching it. He's like, if I'm not mistaken, that is potassium nitrate. How can you tell that from looking at it?
Yeah, how can you just look at something and know what that
He's
is? You guys
smart.
don't have the fucking common sense to scan the goddamn planet before you jump down. But yet you know that's potassium nitrate or whatever just from viewing it.
He's a smart Vulcan. Take his word for it.
The
All
sulfur, the coal, the diamonds, I'll give you. I'll give
you.
you. But potassium nitrate's a very specific compound to visually identify. I don't know. Does it just come out of rocks like that? Like out of the sides of do any of these things just like
Yes,
pour
they
out-
just sit there in the middle of the California desert. That's what they do.
And you just hope that a windstorm doesn't put them all together,
right.
because then it'll be chaos.
Fire starting. This is it. You found the fire theory.
That's why all these goddamn wildfires start. It's all that potassium nitrate sitting around.
I do like the whole like he has to be clever. He has to like come up with the cannon, and
Yeah, he's got this whole MacGyver
the whole
thing going
problem
on.
solving aspect of it. I appreciate, but like they tested this on MythBusters, and it was worth testing because it's not obviously known. But Adam, I know you've seen this episode in question. First of all, you can't just like pour those compounds into a little bucket and shake it up, like with a slap chop or whatever, and then make gunpowder. It's a little more involved than that. To combine those are the ingredients of gunpowder or black powder, but it's more of you got to grind it up more fine, I think. Or is that right? Did I get that as I recall from the episode? Yeah. And the other thing was too that so he gets the piece of bamboo and it does blow up like it's a one-shot cannon, but he uses this rope to reinforce it like he wraps the rope around it or the vine or whatever he finds. And
why is all this stuff just sitting there?
Well, the Metrons put it there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: is this on Earth?
No.
So is it Earth bamboo?
It's on an asteroid.
Right. So how do you know that it's the same level of density and strength as Earth bamboo?
Well, you assume the Metroids or Metrons or whatever they are.
I love the curiosity factor.
They know.
Here.
Yeah.
We have there's a fun fact with Jeff that will deal with this exact topic.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Okay. It's space bamboo, which is as strong as steel. Is that what you're saying?
Very.
Yes, we will.
Space bamboo is really
You don't want to give it away. Like this is a whole segment.
This is a whole segment we're going to dive into.
Yeah.
I already stole one of his fun facts, so I don't want to go too far.
Actually, I think your fun fact wasn't in my fun facts.
Really? Oh, I fun fact Jeff.
I actually did that the other night too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I guess we just have to suspend disbelief for some of the more outrageous parts of this episode. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying it's
it's silly. It's totally silly, but you know what? It's still entertaining. You can't tell me you didn't have a smile on your face while you were watching.
I did.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this immensely.
Exactly.
Like
so,
I do.
it did what it was supposed to do, which is entertain.
I find the Gorn funny. He kept making me laugh.
Yeah, every time I saw the Gorn,
this is your opponent. The hissing. I like that the remaster version.
Lost somebody.
The remaster version, they added the blinking on his little diamond eyes.
We lost Adam.
Yeah, I have the blinking one because I watched the remaster. They didn't do much with that guy getting vaporized, though.
No, he got vaporized.
He still looked the same. Because I remember watching this episode ages ago in the non-remaster, and it was pretty much the same thing.
He says, "Captain, I see something," and he's dead.
Yep.
And Kirk goes right to where he was.
Yeah, it's like you just saw a guy get vaporized in front of you. It's a good idea to just walk over there, though.
McGeehan or something.
What's that?
His name was like McGeehan or something. It was a strange.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
His name is. It was Brent, Harrison, and Travers, maybe, or something like that.
Harrison, maybe.
William Blackburn. That's the Lurch who played the Gorn. Okay, I know this guy. Okay, yeah. Oh, there's
he's
Adam.
Tall as shit.
There we go.
There's Adam.
Yeah.
Hey.
Don't have it.
No worries. So, I think we talked about everything that's in the actual episode. I think we're good to go to fun facts. But if anyone else had a thought or a note from the episode, chime in. If not, let's keep moving. Jeff, you got your fun facts.
Okay, here we go. Fun fact number 1: William Shatner
Love that.
currently suffers from tinnitus due to an improperly timed special effect explosion on the set of this episode. Both Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly reportedly suffered from tinnitus as well during the remainder of their lives.
Tinnitus.
Yeah,
What
tinnitus is ringing in your ears.
Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah.
But it was from
yeah?
installing car stereos when I was young.
Well, there you go. So you have that in common with the Holy Trinity of the original series there. Huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's not really that bad, but mine isn't anyway, but maybe his is worse.
The Gorn, number 2. Gorn is not seen until 23 minutes into this episode, almost halfway through the running time. Despite this alien's impressive debut and the cultural popularity of the image, no Gorn was ever seen again in a mainstream Star Trek production until Enterprise in A Mirror Darkly, Part 2. Almost 40 years later, a Gorn did
CGI
appear.
Gorn. That.
A Gorn
Yeah.
did appear in Star Trek the animated series, The Time Trap, but this is considered non-canonical. Gorn, but not forgotten. That was
Well, the animated series is canon now.
Yeah, animated series is canon.
well, not according
Maybe
to my
not
fun
back
fact.
then, but all right. Well,
Although
I won't argue your fun fact.
Star Trek number 3. Although it was non-intentional, Desilu's research department realized that Gene L. Kuhn's screenplay strongly resembled a novella of the same name by Frederick Brown. To deal with this difficulty, Brown was telephoned about the matter, and he agreed to a writer's fee and was offered an official credit for the story.
Yeah.
So they kind of ripped off the whole story. Just
Well, they never acknowledged that they ripped it off, but
but they did.
it was too close, I guess. Yeah.
Fun fact number 4. Episode is the first to establish that the Enterprise's cruising speed is warp 6.
Yeah, they're not consistent with the warp speeds because I think a couple episodes ago they were like, go to warp 12. And I'm like, that's not a thing. Like,
Well, and I always thought that the restriction was warp 5. But I could be wrong.
like in Enterprise, which is the NX-01, I mean, that
The
had a warp
NX-01 was locked at 5.
at 5. So
Yeah.
the Enterprise 1701 can only go like barely 2 factors higher.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
That's the cruising speed.
Cruising speed, yeah.
Yeah,
Also-
and in Enterprise they didn't do that all the time. It was like a once in a while thing.
Okay, so this was the first episode that photon torpedoes were used.
Oh,
Introduction
His
of photon
phasers weren't working. He's like, phasers have no effect. Go to photon torpedoes.
and then Sulu just like shoots out a bunch of them too.
Wonder where they just decided that photon torpedoes were the name. Like what makes photon torpedoes so good?
They're photonic.
Well, they're
I don't know.
torpedoes. Like, come on.
photonic.
Like,
Photon.
what more do you need to know here, Adam? I don't get it.
Photons.
What's the photon part? Like, what is a
I don't
photon?
know. I thought a photon is
Well, I know what a photon is. A photon is a
Light.
I know what a
It's
photon.
light, essentially. It's
Okay.
essentially light. Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up now. Okay.
But you bring in your own
Molecule of light.
So as previously mentioned, Ted Cassidy, who was from the Lurch from the Addams Family, has his final Star Trek role as the voice of the Gorn. Cassidy also voiced the antagonist in Star Trek: The Corbinite Maneuver, which I think we've already covered here
I
on
didn't know that.
Live Long.
Oh,
and
and he's like, Captain Kirk, you will die in 10 minutes.
yes,
Yes.
This is why I enjoy Fun Facts with Jeff.
and
I
he
always learn
also appeared as Rock in Star Trek: What Are Little Girls Made Of, which aired in reverse order as compared to their filming dates.
Isn't that next week's episode, Adam?
No, we're doing Miri next.
Which one? Oh, Miri. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, fun fact number whatever it is. The Metrons were named after Metatron, God's other high-ranking soldier in Michael's army of angels, hence their cherubic spiritual appearance.
Oh, okay.
Terrific. I love it.
Alan Rickman.
Cherubic,
And
sure.
Alan Rickman eventually played one.
Yes, Alan. They should have got Alan Rickman, young.
Talking about
he was a
Rickman, yeah.
little boy when this came out. Hua Chang designed and built the Gorn suit. Its clothing was designed by William Ware Thwaites. Actually, 2 suits were made, worn by stuntmen Bobby Clark and Gary Combs. Also, William Blackburn wore the Gorn head for close-ups. After production finished on the episode, the 2 Gorn costumes were placed in Robert H. Justman's office, one dressed up to look like a girl to scare unsuspecting visitors.
What?
Well, that gets back to your theory earlier about how like people were scared of it.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
scary. But yeah, I don't understand why he doesn't bite Gord with Kirk with those teeth when he's got him in the grapple.
For all you know, they're really soft teeth.
Not what I know from Enterprise.
No, this is true.
Okay, so this one's gonna be a little long. Okay, so the fort set on Cessus 3, retouched here with science fiction trappings and location signs, can be seen in several early episodes of the Wild Wild West. Most prominently, the Wild Wild West: The Night of the Sudden Plague. It is also an important part of the coincidentally titled Mission Impossible, called Trek. 1967. This set was directly adjacent to Vasquez Rocks, so close that in Bat Masterson's Dagger Dance 1961, both the fort and the distinctive peaks of Vasquez Rocks appear in the same shot. In some shots, Vasquez Rocks can be seen from the set in Arena itself. The fort set plays a major role in Bonanza, alias Joe Cartwright 1964. The fort's walls and crenellations are clearly visible throughout the episode. The Vasquez Rocks area is used for the traveling segments back and forth to town. According to Eddie Paskey's website, it is also used for Beau Jest 1939. According to Jerry L. Schneider's Vasquez Rocks webpage on movie-making locations, the fort was built in the mid-1950s for the television show Tales of the 77th Bengal Lancers, 1956, from Screen Gems, a Columbia Pictures subsidiary, erected at a cost of $117,000. The set was torn down several years later after the filming of Arena, and the area is a parking lot across from the Vasquez Rocks natural area. Woo, that was a long one. That was a long fact.
Wow, you got to take a breath after that one.
Yeah, that was a long one. You're allowed to take pauses between sentences, just so you know. But yeah.
Do you know what
Somebody get this man a Gatorade. He's an athlete.
Right?
Wiki Wow Wow. No.
What was it?
Wild Wild West was a show in the 60s about the West, about the Wild West, like cowboys and Indians type thing, right? But there was a space connection to it.
Kind of like
I'm not quite sure.
Cowboys and Aliens, that movie.
Kind of like what Daniel Craig made that.
Yeah, that's it. Cowboys and Aliens. Yeah.
Okay, so the colony where the story opens is called Cestus 3, a name which foreshadows the main theme. A cestus was a Roman boxing glove fitted out with deadly weapons such as spikes and used by gladiators in the arena. So that's kind of what it's named after. So there you go.
I wonder if they use cannons out of bamboo.
As long as they're reinforced with rope and their space bamboo, it will work.
They really like going to the old Roman.
You're very bitter.
Like the Roman history for Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Roman references.
Even this Metron looks like a sort of from Rome or something like that. Greece.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So this telepay was credited to an original story by Frederick Brown, also titled Arena, that was first published in 1944 on the pages of Astounding Science Fiction magazine. Though Robert H. Justman and Herbert F. Solow wrote inside Star Trek The Real Story that Gene L. Kuhn wrote a script as an original over the course of a weekend, unaware of Brown's story, and only saw permission to adapt the story after the slight similarities were pointed out to him. It was a happy coincidence, basically. Brown was more than happy to hear that Star Trek decided to use one of his stories and probably never found out the real plot behind it.
I'm going to call bullshit on that, but anyway.
Yeah. That's probably bullshit.
That's quite a coincidence.
That is quite a coincidence. Star Trek Deep Space Nine Family Business relates that by 2371, Terran colonists were once again living on Cestus 3, suggesting that the Federation and the Gorn homogeny made peace after Kirk's experience.
The Gorn hegemony.
The hegemony.
Yes. And
Either
in Star
way,
Trek
I would
Online,
that word.
A game we play, the Gorn are also featured. But they've been conquered by the Klingon Empire in that story.
Star Trek Online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just one more thing: the woman or the person who plays the Metron is actually a woman, Carol Barry, Carol Lynn Barry. She also played an engineer on the Next Generation's first season episode Home Soil as well.
Okay. So. A piece of crinkled stone wall, which was black aluminum foil, was placed at the top of the frame to hide the California landscape with homes that would have otherwise been seen in one of the very wide shots of the fort. The remastered version of this episode corrects this error by rendering a CGI landscape in place of the foil.
I don't remember the original for that.
I'd rather have the original stuff just to see how ridiculous the special effects were.
Unfortunately, Netflix doesn't allow us to see the originals anymore. So.
Yeah. Cestus 3 was a globe of the Earth previously seen in Star Trek Miri, is that what we're doing next week?
Yeah,
Right.
Miri.
Printed backwards and tinted a hazy orange.
You gotta reuse things.
Reuse things.
Hey, season
That's
1,
valid.
man. What do you want?
In the 1970s, the Mego Toy Company produced a Gorn action figure doll.
I've seen
However,
this.
Have you seen it, Dave?
I've seen it.
however,
I had one. I wish I could. I'm sure I had one. I wish
Really?
I had. Yeah.
Neat.
however, unlike the TV character, the toy was dressed in the same costume used for the Klingon doll. Also, the head was the same one used for the Marvel Comics doll, the Lizard, except the Gorn head was molded brown to match the costume.
He fought Spider-Man later on. He was doing a lot of different things.
That Gordon gets around, man.
Yeah.
So the Gorn in the Klingon outfit, basically, is what you're saying. I think I've seen a picture of this somewhere. Here it is.
Well, let's be honest. It's not that far of a stretch, really, compared to his original outfit.
So so in the original script, Kirk and the alien captain's battleground had translucent walls, making it seem as though they were in a giant terranium.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
It would have made sense for Arena too, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so to the aforementioned bamboo cannon. Okay. The creation of the diamond cannon was tested on Mythbusters Mini Myth Mayhem in 2009 and deemed implausible. The Mythbusters proved that making black powder was tricky and required specific amounts of each ingredient and could not be made simply by dumping things together. Also, the bamboo cannon could not withstand the blast and would have killed Kirk. However, it's been suggested that the wood on the Metron planet may have had different properties. This latter idea is born out of the paperback adaptation of Arena by James Blish, and possibly according to the original script, the bamboo on the Metron planet was different. It was as hard as iron. Hitting it with a rock even produced a distinctly metal clank. Perhaps it picked up iron from the soil, as horsetails picked up calcium from oxalate.
Perhaps.
Or some prairie grasses picked up selenium. This would probably have rendered a different outcome than the Mythbusters had.
We're gonna go with Star Trek convenience again.
That's really good. That explains it all.
Because we can't go to the asteroid planet and get the asteroid bamboo.
You
We'll never
can't
know.
prove this.
We can't prove this. You're right.
You can't unprove it either.
That's true.
In Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations, Captain Sisko admits to Jadzia Das that he would have loved to have met Kirk and asked him about fighting the Gorn on Cestus 3. So it's you get that same reference.
He didn't fight. Well, he sort of fought the Gorn on Cestus 3, but he more fought the Gorn on this Metron thing.
Yeah, on the asteroid.
His fight with the Gorn, they never even saw each other. He fired that one grenade at them and then they ran away.
Right. Okay, so phasers prove ineffective against the Gorn ship, so Kirk gives the order to arm the photon torpedoes, marking the first naming of that weapon in this series. Sulu says they get off a full discharging of photon torpedo banks in this episode, which constitutes only 2 shots, and they are a red globular discharge that fire from the glowing dome under the saucer. They hadn't worked at the kinks yet. Okay.
I've got the definition of a photon torpedo here if you want it.
Okay, yeah. Since we just did that one, that would be a good time.
All right. Photon torpedoes are metal casings that suspend positrons, which is a form of antimatter that reacts violently with electrons in a magnetic field. The magnetic field collapses on impact and brings the antimatter with into contact with normal matter and then explodes.
Oh,
So,
it's kind of like
so bamboo cannon, basically. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
No, is those blue bombs that Kirk, they had this little sort of like kind of a bazooka, and they were firing off those blue like bombs.
Yeah, they were like motors.
What were they? The bomb that they blew up.
They were like motors.
They were like almost like a nuclear missile.
It was a grenade launcher. It's a mortar. And it's power. It's 23rd century. They're not little ones. Like there was enough. Right. That's why he runs out into that field and he does his little acrobatics so he can get to that armory.
But his hair is still perfect, and that's what's important.
Hair is perfect. It's always important.
the History Channel shows how William Shatner changed the world. Saw William Shatner return to Vasquez Rocks in a sports car and revisit some of those very rocks where he battled the Gorn. So there you go.
I saw that show. It was good.
The word arena for a sports or combat facility is taken from the Latin or Spanish word for sand, the main ingredient of the surface where gladiators fought.
Right. Jeff, you forgot about Jay and Silent Bob connection.
What's the Jay and Silent Bob connection?
In Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the scene where they're in the diner, right? And they say that they're gay and that the orangutan's their son. That's at the Arena Diner because they shot that at Vasquez Rocks.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's a fun fact from Dave.
Fun facts. It's
Fun facts coming from
team
everywhere.
I
actually feel bad because I don't think I provided one, but everybody else did.
Uh,
I did the Lurch one earlier. Okay.
You got more,
I think
Jeff?
we've all done one now.
yeah, I got a lot more actually.
You got more.
I got
All right. Hey,
Bobby Clark, one of the performers who played the part of the Gorn captain, visited a Star Trek soundstage 38 years later after filming the scene with Captain Archer, where he fought the Gorn Slar in episode in A Mirror Darkly Part 2. That episode was the first appearance of the Gorn, in Star Trek since that episode. We already mentioned that though. Harold, the Outpost's only survivor, wears the recycled uniform worn by Commander Hansen in Star Trek Balance of Terror.
remember Hansen? I remember Hansen. How can you forget?
Which one's Hansen?
He's the one that gets killed by the Romulans on screen in the Balance of Terror. And he's like,
Oh, okay.
no, and he kind of like the thing's blowing up with him, but through the view
Yeah.
screen. It's
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Enterprise.
There are so many fun facts about the weapons on the Enterprise, which they're getting a little monotonous here because it's just like this is like, oh my god, it says a full discharge of the phaser banks from an unusual location in this episode. It's just like they didn't know what they were doing yet. So
Yeah, because it's shot from the bottom observation area.
yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice that, even in the reworked one.
This was the first episode to be broadcast in color by the BBC when it was first shown in the UK in November 1969. So there you go, guys. That's very interesting.
Color was a big thing when it came in.
When it was invented. Yeah, they had to invent the color. Everyone's in black and white before.
Until 1971 at our house.
Change the world.
Right. The word metron means instrument of change in Greek. The name of the planet Cestus 3 refers to the gladiatorial combat. A cestus is a type of boxing glove. We already mentioned that. So they're taken from Rome, Greece. They're going all over the place. Whatever they can find, they're throwing it in.
It's pretty consistent in the original series, though. There was a lot of Greek, Italian, and other influences. Yeah.
This is the first episode to make a reference to Starfleet. When Kirk makes an entry,
All right, so Starfleet, not Federation. Okay.
into the recorder given by the Metrons, he asks that whoever finds it, please get it to Starfleet.
So they weren't called Starfleet before this?
The Federation is like the big country, I guess, and Starfleet would be like the army.
The Federation's the group. Starfleet is the human version.
Yeah. Federation's the state.
The human wing of the Federation.
Okay.
It's the exploration
Starfleet
military.
was just like the army.
Well,
It's
Starfleet is the explorer wing.
It's not an official military. It's a paramilitary. They have a defense role in the Federation, but they're not a military group. They're an
So why do they
So
have
basically,
all the ranks and all the?
if you compare this to the Korean War, they would be the U.S.
Well, look at NASA. They have a mission commander,
They're
but he's
policing.
not.
They're not.
He's not
war.
in the military. He's the mission commander, and you can have a rank structure on a spaceship without it being military. The reason that they don't wear like the Kirk doesn't wear like 4 stripes on his sleeve is because Roddenberry made a conscious effort not to make them the military or to not make them feel like the true Navy.
Okay, fair enough. It feels awfully a lot like the Navy.
And and I think on most Star Trek, whether it be Enterprise or watching me around Enterprise, but Next Gen or even Future, they're always challenging. Remember when we were explorers and we didn't have to do this kind of thing, didn't have to patrol the neutral zone. So it was always, looked upon as a bad thing to be the military or to, mundane roles. right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what Enterprise really jumped on that, because Enterprise was like, yeah, we're not here to police. We're just kind of here to explore, and we're not going to get involved in your shit half the time, and half the time they got involved anyway. But
and the Makos, remember they had the Makos on the Enterprise, right? And they were the military, but Starfleet was not the military exactly.
Yeah, the Makos were kind of like the Section 31 kind of
they
guys,
were like the
to a degree,
Marines.
but
They were little.
yeah,
They
they were
more,
like the Marines. That's a very good example. Yeah, Marines.
Yes. And Section 31's like the CIA.
Kind of.
Okay. Where is it? Although the recipe for gunpowder has varied according to time and location, its usual composition is by mass is 75% potassium nitrate, which Spock can just identify.
You can just identify by sight.
10% sulfur, which is that yellow stuff that was.
He was using more than 10%.
He was using a lot more than 10%, and 15% charcoal or carbon
or coal.
Same thing. This is the first episode to establish the existence of a federation. The word was first used in Star Trek The Corbomite Maneuver as First Federation, but it was the name of Balak's organization. This episode refers to the Federation, which was fully named later in Star Trek A Taste of Armageddon. So, Jody, you were correct once again.
In a way. Yeah. So the Federation, United Federation of Planets, is not said yet.
No, they just say the Federation instead of First Federation. They had said that.
Did they even reference United Federation of Planets in the original series?
They do once, like
they do.
That episode that we watched with the Tellarites and the Andorians, and they were all hanging out.
You're right.
They mentioned in that episode.
I remember
that's not until the second season, though.
Yeah. First season they didn't, but second season, yeah.
Okay, so Kirk wears previously unseen white undergarments during the location segments on the asteroid. The long sleeve shirt can be viewed just under the cuff of Kirk's tunic when he's using the recorder translator. The long johns can be seen above the boots when Kirk is crouched on a rock. Given that this segment was filmed in November, the undergarments could be thermal or perhaps padding for the fight scenes. Now, I did notice that his uniform was ridiculous and very tight, and his belt was very high, and it looked like he was prepared for not chafing, or like he knew he was going to be doing long days outside in the sun, and I don't know. I feel like his whole getup was not what he wore on the ship.
Yeah, I don't know what the average.
You notice a costume change when he goes from the planet to the ship.
Yeah,
both times.
Okay, so this one's kind of cool. Comedian and film director Ben Stiller has the prop Gorn head, as he is a very big fan of the Star Trek franchise. So he bought that Gorn head.
Yeah. Lucky guy.
Okay, so this is the one I'm going to get to. This will be all right, I have two more. Captain Kirk's chase of the Gorn ship is reminiscent of Captain Ahab from Herman Melville's Moby Dick, a metaphor used quite frequently in Star Trek. We get it's not blow up the damn ship, Jean-Luc. No. Okay, and finally, this one might be the best one, because I mentioned it earlier. Gary Combs, one of the actors who wore the Gorn suit, suffered from claustrophobia. A genuine trooper, he wore the suit and that dreaded head, which triggered his claustrophobic condition in a major way. The show was filmed with no trouble from Combs, and the crew lost no time as a result of Combs' condition.
Brave guy.
True hero.
He's like when Garrick had to go into that little room to repair the transporter or whatever when they were stuck in that Jem'Hadar prison in season 5 Deep Space Nine.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I just happened to look up. I'm just going to add a fun fact here. I just happened to look up what the average temperature at Vasquez Rocks actually is. It generally only 6 degrees Celsius.
Should I say again?
So I would have thought it would have been hotter than that.
Oh, Dave, I have one more that you will find interesting. You will like. Remade as Blake 7 Duel, 1978, and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, The Arena, 1984.
Yes. Well, you're talking Cartoon Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We said last night, or was it last night or the other night, that we're going to do Masters of the Universe movie rewatch, which I think will be because
I'll be game on that. I haven't seen that in like 20 years.
We got Robert Duncan McNeil from Star Trek Voyager in that, so we said, and we're going to call it Star Trek actors in questionable movies. So
I like it. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I know we're coming up in an hour, so I want to get to the ratings. Just to pull that in. Oh, by the way, here's that Gorn in that Klingon uniform.
Oh my God!
Was that what you had, Adam?
No. No.
No. You had the one that looked more like the actual.
It's
Yeah, I
probably
had-
good because if you had this, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
I had Lizard Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get to ratings.
So you
Pull
must
this
have
thing
Lizard
up
Man.
so we can all
Green,
see.
yeah.
Okay. Arena. Let's start with Jody.
Oh, geez. I'm gonna give this an 8.5. This is a solid, fun episode. The only reason why it loses marks is because it's kind of stupid. But overall, it's fun.
Adam.
I'm going with Jody, 8.5.
All right.
I couldn't
Dad?
agree with you more, Adam.
That's good.
Dad.
I would go an 8.3.
Oh, he's.
He
that's a
always
rare
likes to just
occurrence.
throw to. He never wants to do the 5s or the 0s, eh?
Stepchildren, but it's a close second.
That's
No
good.
Plato's stepchildren, he says. It's just under Plato's
No, you're right.
stepchildren.
It isn't. Oh God, that is a terrible episode.
Yeah, you gave it a 5.
Yeah, and
as
it didn't even
I.
really deserve that. I was being nice.
What was the little guy on Plato's stepchildren?
It doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
sucks.
he had a name. Jeff.
I just give it an 8. I'd say.
All right. I'm going to go as high as 9, guys. I'm going to go a little higher. So,
9. Wow.
Yep. So this average. So among the 5 of us, this averages out at an 8.5. IMDb rating at 8, which I think is a little low, a little surprisingly low. So combined with those, that's about an 8.2. So this is well above our averages. Right now, our average for original series episodes is 7.2. When you look at sort of the combined with like the control audience, we're at 7.4. So we're, this was well above that.
He made all year.
Right. Jody is the harshest episode rater, but Jeff is very close.
I'm the harshest everything all the time.
God
so
is the
that
most
makes it-
generous. To get on his ratings. And
Well,
Adam and I
yeah,
are
we
in the
already
middle.
know because like he rated some of them that were just terrible.
But this one he was a little harsher on. He said this was no Plato's stepchildren.
It's them rose-colored glasses he wears.
Yes. So
He's too busy watching the game right now.
yeah, the Raptors are back. They're playing. The Gorns are playing basketball again. Right. So we'll be back next week to talk about the original series episode Miri from the first season, episode 11, I believe. And I don't think I've actually watched this before. So Adam
Yeah,
had
I
suggested
can't
this.
say I know
So
what it
I'm
is.
looking forward to. I always like to see an episode I really haven't watched before. Last week we did For the World is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky, which I had never seen before either. So
Oh, really?
I'm enjoying watching new content in the.
When you watch
Of-
this episode, enjoy the character. His name is John. Yeah, you'll recognize him.
John. Okay. John and Miri. Okay.
God, now you really got me wondering.
All right. So I'm looking forward to that. Also here on Live Long and Podcast, we got Star Trek podcasts all week long. On Tuesday nights, we have Deep Space Nine, as we're just getting into the second season of Deep Space Nine. If you want to rewatch that, hear our take on every
What is
episode.
it, your 3.5 year?
It's a 3.5 year
voyage?
journey. So we're 6 months
Yeah.
in or whatever it is now. We got through the first season. We're on to the second.
Good for you.
Yes. Thank you.
First season's the hardest.
I think the second season is actually going to be the hardest.
Oh, really?
At least
Okay.
part.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there's a couple better episodes in there. Also, of course, we do original series here, and then on Thursdays we do Lower Decks, and on the weekend we do what's it called? Star Trek Radio Theater. Sorry, I just blanked there for a second. We're gonna be doing this one Saturday night, and we're doing a Voyager episode called Inside Man, which had Barclay. Reginald Barclay.
I know that one.
I'm playing Barclay.
Are
so
you?
I'm gonna-
Oh, you'll
Adam,
be a good Barkley.
I saw that you listened to our last one for our Star Trek Radio Theater where we were doing we did the one with Picard, Tapestry, and Q. So how'd you enjoy that? I haven't actually asked you.
I enjoyed you guys. It was a good watch.
Yeah,
Good listen.
You enjoyed that?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jeff played Picard as Elvis Presley, so and also Travolta. He was kind of a split personality.
The key here that the audience needs to know is it's an interpretation. It's not a direct recreation.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
there's always some fun to be in store there. When you hear it.
It's an artistic reinterpretation.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
of the
to
character.
jump on one soon.
We're going to be doing the movie finale Eventually, I don't know when we're doing the finale, but we're going to do Star Trek 4 as our big finale for the season 1.
Oh well, then I must come back to reprise my role as
Yes.
Scotty.
Well, we have a lot of roles to divvy up for that one, so
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's like 36 roles, so it's gonna be good. All right, and then Super Mater Brother Podcasting is our other channel where Jeff and I and Jaemeel cover Big Brother and sometimes Survivor and a couple other shows. We're gonna be back tonight covering the veto episode of this 5th week of Big Brother USA 22, and we'll be back on Thursdays and Sundays to talk about those episodes, and our other channel, Trivial Debates, where we do our monthly debate show. We got a big battle
Next
royal.
one's going to be
coming up.
epic.
This next one is epic. It's Ashley judging. Me and Jeff are a team. Kevin and Jody are a team. Chris and Jaemeel are a team, and it's going to be great. So
The
check
Chris
that
and
out.
Jaemeel team is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yes, it's gonna be good. Last Sunday of every month. So check that out and go Raptors, I guess.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Team.
We're hoping they're gonna win. So thank you, Jody. Thank you, Adam, Dad, and Jeff. We will see you again for the next one. Oh, he's got his mask. He's off.
Oh,
He's off to somewhere.
Let's
oh,
get a
Star Trek
closer look
hat.
here. Let's get a
It's got
closer
this-
look here.
with the
I
science.
can't really make it out.
Is that like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek?
Is it just the Star Trek logo?
Whoops.
Yeah, it's like the science.
I think it's the Federation logo.
No, it's the science symbol.
Oh, yeah.
Science.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Starfleet Delta. Yeah, very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I had to go with blue. I like the blue.
And
No, I
just
like
a service
blue.
announcement. Everybody wear your fucking masks.
And keep your
Please.
noses in your masks too, if you can.
Yeah. Put your fucking noses in your mask too.
I
It's
see these
not
people's
effective
noses
if I can
hanging
still
out. Like,
snot on me.
Air comes
If
out
you
of your
can
nose.
still snot out, it's not effective. That's my PSA for today.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.